Hey. Hello, hello. Car check, mic check. Seems to be working. All right. How's everybody doing? Everyone's doing good this beautiful Saturday. It is quite nice out here in New England. And just doing a short little live stream. See Gizmodus done a little chat earlier. I may be on by at 5, but probably not this week. I'm probably going to keep it relatively on the short side because I got to get ready for the live show at Galactic Theater in Warren today. It's always always a good time. And I got to kind of write a little bit of a set list for the show yet because I haven't really done it yet. We pretty much stick to the same format, but we add a lot of tunes and change it up fairly often to keep it interesting for us and the audience. And we've added, I want to say about 4 or 5, at least 4 or 5 new songs recently. And kind of working out some of the kinks on them, but we do them and have some fun. Anyway, a little bit of a channel update. The video, the next video that I was trying to get out this week got delayed because of some technical difficulties with gear and equipment. I started upgrading some gear here and there, and one of the pieces, the main piece that I used to hold the camera, the tripod, kind of started breaking on me, and it just wasn't holding the camera up right and looked like it was about to just snap. So I said, well, I don't want I don't want to risk the camera falling over and completely you know, ending everything for now. So I said, well, I got to get a new tripod. So waiting for that to come in. It should be in tomorrow, and then I can start cranking out the videos for everybody. And the next one, like I've said before, is Good Rockin' Tonight, and then I've got a couple other ones planned for lessons, as well as another what do you call like Rockabilly riffs video, but instead of the swing, it'll be more like a 2-beat kind of thing. So a little bit instead of, which was kind of the tempo of the other one, it'll be a little faster. Probably do it in the key of E instead of the key of A, but I try to make sure that any riff that I show you can be transposed into another key. That way, if you do learn it, you don't have to feel like, oh well, I have to play it in this key. I could play it in in anything. Some of them, there's always open riffs, and then trying to play the open riff in another key is difficult or impossible. But you can always use a capo. So especially for a lot of the droning things, or if you want even anything like this, that sound of both the open E and the fifth fret. You can do that. You just have to put a capo somewhere else. I mean, you can sort of do that much of a stretch. It's just not really practical. A perfect example of this would be That'll Be the Day, Buddy Holly. Now that's in the key of E, but originally it's an A. So you played with a capo on the 5th fret, and then you could just play that open and have those strings droning there and still be able to get that same sound. Same with a lot of the chicken picking stuff. Like, then if you put a capo on, you can do that same thing, or bends like this. Or people used to play this pentatonic. Or do that with a capo instead of having use your index finger, but generally speaking, it's you can transpose most riffs from one to the other, and you don't have to be kind of stuck having to use a capo. I don't really use a capo all that much. There's a couple of songs that I play. Um, we do a cover of "Personal Jesus" by Depeche Mode, and that song is in the key of F sharp minor, so A, I guess, really, but still. So I use a capo on the second fret to play it, so I can just play it like that, and then I don't have to worry about doing this, and it just rings out a lot better too. But yeah, having that just having anything extra like that, a capo, pedals, and all of these other little tricks and these two toys and things like that. It's just an extra thing to keep track of. So I try always to figure out a way to play it without that. And then if I have no choice, I'm like, well, it's going to sound better with that. So I pretty much have one song I play with a capo. We used to play. I haven't done it in a long time. "Gentle on My Mind," Glenn Campbell, and I would use a capo for that one. I think it was the first fret for that, and there wasn't really much to it as far as unless you threw a solo in. The song doesn't have a solo originally, although Glenn Campbell did one live, and that's pretty cool. To try to do that, and I did work that out at some point, and it was fun. It worked really well for the song, and a lot of Jerry Reed stuff too is sounds like high strung guitar stuff. So way up there on the eighth fret if he's playing in the key of C. So it has its uses for sure. Not too much in rockabilly for the most part because a lot of it's just going to be based on this or that sort of thing, or two beat kind of stuff. Which again, you can do the finger picking with the 2-beat stuff. It doesn't have to just be the swing. It's faster. I mean, That's All Right Mama, but at a considerably faster tempo than That's All Right Mama. You don't have to even, if you're an A, you can in any key, I guess, but you just can't hit that open string. And same thing with the 4. Whatever you want to do. But yeah, so that'll be the next thing. I have gone over a finger picking. I did a finger picking video about a year ago or so, and I think everything I did for the most part was. I'll have to go back and watch the video. I don't remember if I did anything on the 2-beat style of finger picking. So, and people seem to ask about that technique more than anything else for the most part. It is a cool sound, and it's fun. It takes a little bit of getting used to keeping that thumb going, as opposed to um, just using your picking. Which is, I think that's just a little cleaner, and I think it's worth just working on that technique to get it. You don't have to tuck your pick up like that, but you can do it with the pick, which I do demonstrate. I think I demonstrate in that video. Or you can use a thumb pick or not a pick at all. I've seen people just kind of, if it'll stay there, or some people put the pick in the mouth or whatever and just use your fingers and just kind of sort of kind of Travis style fingerpick the melody or whatever. But yeah, with the rockabilly thing, it's just the drone of the root note. Really, you're not really bouncing back and forth between root 5, or anything like that, like the Chet Atkins stuff. And you're not or playing individual bass lines. You can if you want to a certain degree. It doesn't always work, but the nice thing about the droning thing is it still gets that clean fingerpicking sound, and you can play it anywhere. You can play it here, the D. You can play this bar chord form. You can play. You could play that bar chord form, but if you're going to go to the 4, it's better to just go to a 9 wherever you are. You can play off of this 9 as well. And it's a little bit of a stretch there to reach up to that F sharp, where it's better to just. You're bouncing around with 9 and 7th chords anyway. So to just do it, to play it down here is just unnecessarily awkward. But the 9 chords are a good one to finger pick over. And then just the regular bar chord. It's just an A7 bar chord. So you're just picking over and using your little finger to bounce around these four notes up here. So it's just the 9, the 6, the 7th, the flat 7, and the minor third. Boom, boom, boom. You can see it there. You're at A in this case, F sharp, B, C natural, G natural. And do a little slide or whatever. And then you have the minor third to a third, C to C sharp. You're hammering on in between that. Eventually it just becomes like muscle memory, and you just do it. Yeah, kind of like the Scruggs banjo style. That the string just stays droning, except that you can change it. I mean, I guess you can change it, yeah, with the banjo too. I play a little bit of banjo, and I've done, somewhat of the finger picking. I'm still working it out. I've always wanted to play Foggy Mountain Breakdown, so I'm still kind of working it up. It's a little different. The banjo rolls are a little different because they're backwards to what some of the finger picking stuff would be. It's closer to something like the Chet Atkins, this part in Mr. Sandman, where you go. Closer to that, where you're going. What is it? Index, thumb, index, middle finger, second finger, and just kind of keep that going round and round and round. Very similar, yes. But yeah, it's just getting that rhythm going, and you can use your wrist and arm to kind of bounce, just to get that rhythm. And sometimes when you're picking a string at the same time with your fingers versus alternating, and it's when you're combining the two. The trick, the thing that always took me a while to get was I could do one or the other, pick the strings at the same time, or play them alternating all the time, but going back and forth. And learning the Chet Atkins stuff really helped refine that for me. Songs like "Oh by Jingo" and Mr. Sandman, of course. But yeah, like "Oh by Jingo" is. Been a while since I played it, but yeah, getting that riff. And then it goes usually in between the melody riffs. There's a Travis style type thing, and and playing Cannonball Rag too. That which is Merle Travis. So that's and he only picked, as far as I understand it, with his 2 fingers. So it's just thumb and 2 fingers. So he didn't actually use the what they would say would be the proper finger picking with a thumb pick. Is you would that's what the pick guard can help with, is that you anchor your little finger, anchor your little finger down, and you just use these 4 fingers, and you don't actually use your little finger to do any finger picking. The best way to get used to that is to just keep that down and just practice a standard Travis style finger picking, or put all your fingers down and just keep them there, and just practice going back and forth between the bass lines. And then bouncing. Something like that. Until you get used to keeping that little finger locked down. It takes a minute to get used to that, but it does help you have more control over your fingers. It's tough. These the other guitars don't have a pick guard, so it's a little awkward. And I took it off of this one too for a while. Didn't have the pick guard, but I put it back on for that reason, so I could easily do the Chet Atkins stuff. But then it's just another guitar you have to bring. And if you watch somebody like Tommy Emmanuel, you'll see the same technique. He plays acoustic for the most part, but you watch him, his fingers are locked down. You look at old Chet Atkins stuff, that's how they're playing it. The Rockabilly stuff, you don't have to worry about that. So. That's just whatever. You use all 5 fingers, or when you got the pick tucked up. And of course, you can do while you're doing the finger picking. Say the vocals come back in, or you just want to add a slightly different type of solo to your playing. You can do something finger picking, like with the 2 pickups here, and then flip to the rhythm, and then you can start playing just chords, but you're still picking the chords instead of strumming them. Something that simple. And back to and that's it's a Setzer thing, and that's what where I learned it from. And it does help if you're one guitar in the band, which primarily rockabilly bands would be, or you might have a rhythm acoustic player, but you're the only one playing any leads. You want to make it interesting for yourself and the audience. And that's a great way to switch up the sounds without having to have a bunch of different pedals or change guitars all the time. And you can make things sound great with just one guitar. And you don't have to try to find all the, be a scientist and have 10 pedals or one of those, not line 6 anymore, but the idea of it, where you have like a multi effects pedal. They're really cool, but if I wasn't singing, I probably would do a little bit more with the pedals. But when you're singing, it's just an extra. You want something that's just going to work. That's usually the reason why vocalists that sing, they're vocalists that sing, of course, that's what they do. I need some more coffee. I meant to say frontmen usually just play acoustic guitar if they're singing, and if you're playing lead, it's you don't really want too much. A few pedals here and there are fine. Delay, reverb, which is pretty much all I use. Occasionally I'll click on a tremolo pedal. I tried hooking up an octave pedal the other day, but it needs some work. Something wrong. It's always been problematic of um, where I'll play a note and then it'll suddenly die away. The octave will die, and then I'll get almost like a harmonic sound of it. So there may just be something wrong with the pedal. I don't know. But that's totally just a toy, unless you have a very specific song or sound they're trying to go for, because you can't play more than one note at a time. So you can't even do something like that. You can't even do triads. You have to do individual notes, or it sounds really, really awful. um, Tremolo's fun. I've never really played around with flange or anything like that. Distortion's tough with Gretches because it will feed back very uh, fairly quickly. Just the slightest, even a tube screamer, will cause the guitar to just feed back like crazy. If you And it depends on the guitar. This one really likes to feed back much faster than the blue one, and the feedback on this one is not pleasant. It's kind of a high pitched squeal, very annoying. Where the Phoenix and the Hot Rod are nice. I don't know what it is, why this one doesn't like to feed back nicely, but with distortion, it really it's you just have to very, very sensitive, just little movements on the pedal. And if you have an old amp like this, you really don't need it. Um, if you're playing rockabilly anyway, you really don't want too much of it anyway, because you can just crank the amp up if you use an attenuator. And a lot of amps, if you're using a combo, they have a drive anyway, so just use that. You don't really need to have the extra drive pedal. I mean, I guess if you want a specific sound, um, I've always used Tube Screamer. I've tried Blues Drivers. I don't know. I never really cared for those. They just something about it just sounded too boxy. So I always liked the Tube Screamer. Um, and I've never really worked with too much else other than like a Line 6 multi effects pedal. I don't really play too much with that needs that anyway. So, but I have been looking for things to expand the pedal board. I've tried harmonizers. Harmonizers are weird. They sometimes they work well and sometimes they don't. It just depends on the tune. And you get too locked into pedals, and it I don't know. I feel like it takes away a little bit from the actual playing, especially this is roots music after all. So let's see. Well, I'm just gonna hang out here. I gotta see if I can find set list for today. Add a couple other tunes to it. Usually start with probably start with an original tune tonight. Actually, the one that I put up there. Taking chances. That seems like the best bet. So I will go with that one. I'm actually just going to write this out right now. And add a couple more. We started playing a version of This Magic Moment by the Drifter. Was it the Drifters, I think? And what else did we start doing? We started doing a couple other some Ventures tunes. We did a cover their version, sort of kind of Blue Moon. Um, added a couple other ones. I'll have to look back and see. I don't remember. Oh, there it is. Um, oh, Dave Clark 5. Can't you see? Yeah, that's a fun one. And of course, trying to get more into more of the originals. There's a 12/8 tune that I wrote called Crazy Love, and that's got a bunch of changes to it. I probably won't do that today. I haven't had much of a chance to practice this week. I haven't been feeling the greatest this week for some reason, but yeah, I'm feeling fine now. So, but I don't know. I like to have at least a day or so to practice a song, sleep on it, practice it again. Then I'm good. What's it called? The Surfy Bear Spring Reverb. Oh, cool. I'm always looking for a good spring verb. I have a. Is it 9 volt like everything else? Because I have a. I'll see if I can pull it up. Hmm. Oh, there it is. And you said was it Surfy Bear Spring Reverb? Yeah, pretty, pretty big. It looks like it's around the same. Oh, that's great. See, that's the problem with the Van Zamp, which is really nice, but it's 12 volt. So let me see if I can transfer this over here. There we go. This is it. This looks like, yeah, surfy bear reverb. I assume this is the one. Yeah, the oh, it says 12. That says 12 volt, but so maybe there's a different one because the Vans amp is a similar thing. This is the one that I have. Mine's purple though for some reason, but could be different type. Huh. Either way, I wouldn't mind having something that is 9 volt because, like I said, no, that's 12 volt too. Hmm. So this thing, the rack mount, or that guy. That looks cool too. Up there. That doesn't say. Um, well, either way, the Vans amp one that I've been had been using would cause a weird buzz sometimes in the amp. Yeah, it comes with its own power supply. I don't mind having a separate power supply. That's not really the problem. It's just that for some reason, in some places, when I'd have all the other pedals would be 9 volt, and then the spring reverb would be 12 volt. it would cause a buzz sometimes. I thought something was wrong with the pedal, and I took it into a guy, and he said, "Oh no, it's totally fine." So maybe it was just the two something I had on my pedal board that wasn't quite working right, and I just took it off the board and got a Dan Electro Spring Verb, which is okay, and it's 9 volt. It's okay, but it's not nearly as good as the Vans amp. It doesn't really sound like a real Spring Verb. Um, and I'm sure that the one the Surfy Bear sounds just as good. So maybe down the road I'll do that. But if I'm using the Space Echo anyway, it already has reverb built into it. It's not Spring Verb, but it does sound pretty good live. Um, it doesn't quite give you that, even though I don't have Spring Verb here, it doesn't quite give you that same sound when you're trying to play the surf stuff. Um, but pretty decent, pretty decent. And yeah, the it didn't last really. Hmm. Yeah, this I did haven't had it that long. I've only had it maybe a year, and maybe a little longer than that now. But I don't really use it. I use it on the surf stuff. Some rooms it sounds. Every room is different. Some rooms it sounds great, and in other rooms it's too much. It's too washy, and I have to adjust the reverb, and then it's almost like I can't really hear it anyway. Where with the Vans amp, it really sounded nice, and the Space Echo sounds nice. Different, but nice. Um, so I used to use the Dan Electro Real Echo. Oh, you did the kick thing, yeah. I've only done that a couple of times. It's kind of cool, but I always kind of thought that that would be a problem. You're kicking up. I mean, I know pedals are designed to to be stomped on, but an extra kick, and it takes quite a bit of pressure to get that effect um, out of it. So I can't imagine that it's great for the electronics inside. Yeah, I've had pedals die on me too for just, and I don't think I'm kicking them that hard, but the ones that always die on me are those Boss tuners, those TU2s or 3s or whatever. They end up just, they don't last. They will, they'll just die away inside. And part of it, I think, is probably the electronics. A lot of them, the, was just the jacks. They have those multi, soldering electronic jacks or whatever. I don't know how to really describe it, but it's not just a hot, neutral, and ground like a switchcraft jack. It's all these extra little wires. That's like 5 different wires connected to it, and of course it just doesn't last very long. But I've had these Polytune tuners. Those are great. I've had that one for probably 5 years now, and it's been great. The Boss pedals die away in like 2 years, if that. T2, T3 doesn't matter. I do know that I mean Nocturne makes a reverb pedal. I haven't tried that one yet. Um, but yeah, a lot of these pedals they're not available in of course in Guitar Center or most music stores. So you have to they're a little pricey to try something and then have to, if you can't return it, to try to sell it and get your money back. So if I do buy something new, of course I'll share it on the channel so everybody else can make a decision as best you can. There's nothing like actually hearing it live, obviously. Um, I was really shocked doing the comparison with the delays with the RE20 pedal and the Space Echo and the Chorus Echo, whatever, and the Mystery Brain. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't really prepared for the Mystery Brain to be as harsh as the as it was in comparison to the other. It still sounds good. I think live for me, it still sounds the closest and still being able to keep the volume down, because I always, not always, but I usually use an attenuator. And with the Mystery Brain preamp combined with the attenuator and cranking the amp gives me closer to the sound of what I'm looking for, which sounds just like a quieter version of this amp cranked up to 6 with the Roland Space Echo, but quiet. And that's always the constant battle of learning how to play quiet. You got to be over the drums if you know, but you can't. But the guitar can be very piercing. And sometimes if the guitar, some people might think the guitar is too loud, but it's actually just piercing. And they say, turn the guitar down, or you try turning down. If you're in that situation, just try turning down if you have a presence knob, turn that down and turn the treble down a little bit before you just, especially if you think, oh, I'm not that loud, before you just turn the volume down. Or if you're only up to 2 or 3 or something, um, turn that stuff down a little bit before you start to, turn the volume down too much. I'll do that, and depending on the room, sometimes if it's too piercing, especially if there's a lot of concrete, um, or tin, open, metal roofs or something like that, the high end is really can be really piercing, and that can throw a lot of people just. Ugh. I get it. I totally understand, but and this amp is very directional. There's no open back, so everything gets pushed straight. And if you're right in front of it, it's going to be super loud. But if you're just over to the side a little bit, it's not so loud. So that's another thing to keep in mind as well. Um, Most of the time, if I'm playing a bigger venue, when they mic the amplifiers, they usually don't need to turn my amplifier. They don't need to put it into the PA too much because it's already has plenty of volume. And I definitely prefer that than trying to have to keep the amp down. I get it if you're in a small venue, but if you're in a big venue, turn the amp up, let it do its thing, and then if you need more, it's there and you can add it in the PA. But if it's loud enough on its own, just let it breathe, you know? You're just going to have a better tone. The guitar player is going to be happier, and it'll just sound better in general, cuz amps are designed to kind of be cranked a little bit, for at minimum 4, for especially for the older Fenders. New amps are a whole different beast, and I honestly don't have too much experience with um, newer amps, because they all kind of, whether they're really loud or whether they're really quiet, they all kind of sound the same roughly. Doesn't really sound too much different. Um, it's just louder and it'll feed back faster. So it's not. I have played the California Tweed Mesa Boogies. They're really nice, but they do sound. Doesn't matter whether it's quiet or whether it's loud. It sounds the same. Um, Same thing with those amp modeler pedals I've talked about before. Doesn't matter whether they're quiet or whether they're loud. They all sound the same, other than it's going to start feeding back when you start. Just like anything is going to start feeding back when you start cranking it. Um, where with these, there's no circuit board. There's no limit to the um, to the volume that you get. It just kind of, well, there is a limit to the volume. It will start saturating after like 6 or 7, but it tends to breathe more. I've noticed when I played some newer amps with circuit boards, you get up there and you really start digging in. It sounds like there's almost a limiter on it, almost like there's a digital just ceiling, and it kind of sounds like it's not sort of kind of like it's clipping almost, which is really it's an odd sound to me. It doesn't saturate and overdrive like an old tube amp, even though it's still tube, but it's just the way the circuit boards are, I guess. And these Fender does a pretty good job with of course, with their new amps. Anything else like the orange amps and whatever other brands are out there that people are using now, I don't have any experience with them, so I can't really say live. They sound good in practice spaces. Um, but I've never played them in a live situation. I've always had pretty much always these. I've had a old Vox AC30 for a while, but that one didn't really work um, live. So used it on a few recordings, and I was just young and a Beatles fan. I think, oh, a Vox AC30, that'll be the amp to get. Come to find out later, most of the amplifiers in the recording for the Beatles, especially after like what Rubber Soul era, they were using Fender Bassmans and Fender amps anyway, and Gretches. All right. Well, let's see. Like I said, little delay on the video because of the equipment. Did not want my the weight of. I got a new little teleprompter for the videos because the scripts have starting to get a little bit more intricate. The main reason I want to do it is because why I wanted the teleprompter was because I would have to memorize the script, which takes a lot of time, and then even then, it's not 100% memorized. If I did spend the time to memorize it like an actor of like like a live play or something like that, it would set me back so much. It would just be a lot to constantly have to try to remember. And if I'm not doing it and I'm reading it, I have to read like a section of it and then look back at the camera, a section of it, and then if I notice, oh, I looked away or I did something else and I screwed up, I would have to go back and retake it again and again and again, and I would have like 12. Some of these videos I go and I edit and I repeat myself like 12 times, and then you have to spend that time editing and chopping all of that stuff out. So it eats up time while you're recording, and it eats up time in your editing process. So it delays the entire process. So I figured, oh, get a teleprompter, mess with it. It works fairly well. It's fairly easy to use, but the weight of that with because it works with like an iPad, you just put it down underneath and it reflects in like a reverse, like a mirror, and then you can just read it, and you can either have it scroll slowly or you just click through it and say what you need to say and then move on. But the weight of all of that, plus the camera on top of the tripod because it's a cheap Amazon Basics tripod, the whole thing just started going click, 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 bending off. I'm like, oh, I don't need that stuff crashing to the floor. So I got a nice new robust tripod that'll be coming in tomorrow, and I'll be able to start knocking a bunch of videos out for the guitar beginner course. I'm going to do a whole video series on beginning guitar from the very beginning. You've never picked up a guitar before in your life, and you start from there. And then once I get through that, do intermediate, advanced, and as far as I can go with my knowledge, at least anyway. And then, of course, the standard lessons, like I've talked about, the podcast thing that I've talked about. It's in progress. It's just getting people to interview just takes a little time with scheduling and all of that. And I do want to get a bunch of them kind of done, so I don't release one and then nothing happens for 6 months, and see if people like that. Um, the history of series that I've talked about as is I've been waiting for that teleprompter because the scripts are quite long, and I don't know about anybody else, but I personally don't like um, too many jump cuts in YouTube videos. It's fine once in a while, but some videos you watch, it's like doot, 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 every line there's a jump cut, and so I've just never really cared for that style. I'd rather have at least 10 seconds where you can actually just read the script or say your piece without having all of those distracting little jump cuts. Sometimes it adds impact, especially the ones that jump and zoom in a little bit, but um, I heard some distortion. But And with the history of stuff, it's all dialogue. There's not going to be any real playing. This one, there will be some in this one because this is about the history of the Fender Bassman. So I'm going to try to see if I can wrangle and find vintage 59 so I can do a comparison between the 59 Bassman and the 62, 63 Bassman, which are the same basically. This one here is a 62. The other one that I use normally is a mid 63. The only difference really is cosmetic. Um, they just had a change of color on the front plate and the Tolex and the grill cloth. It's just a coloring change. They went from like a wheat rough Tolex to a smooth gold Tolex and a black control panel versus a brown. Um, although they all kind of look faded and yellow now. So, um, and then right before this model, the 212, they had a 15 of the 115, um, slightly different circuitry, and that would have been better for bass. In fact, if you look on a lot of the Ventures live, they use it's like all Bassmans across. They use that 115. I think it's the bass player playing through that one. Um, was that live in Japan record? You can see some of the video of that. You can see those amps there. And then before that, you had the 59, the classic tweed, going all the way back to the TV style front fenders. And that was an interesting little dive into the history of that amplifier and where it came from, and thinking that the first bass amplifier was really Ampeg, more for uprights than for um, electric basses. But the first electric bass amplifier was really actually something in the 30s called AudioVox. And that one was developed with its own bass amp combo together. It was an interesting little thing, but nobody bought them, so they stopped making them. And then it wasn't until later when Fender came out with the solid state, not solid state, but the solid body bass precision, the P basses. They would use them with their guitar amps, but they weren't quite powerful enough, so that started them down the path of creating the bass amp, but everybody kept using them for guitars. And they made great guitar amplifiers, so they use both. The bass players would use them, and guitar players would use them. But of course, Ampeg was right along at the same time, even though they developed mostly for uprights, because that's where the name came from. Ampeg was the amp, the amplification for the upright back then was a peg in the sound, the bottom peg of the bass that held it up, and it was wired in there, and so that's where the name for that company came from. Amp, and yeah, they were great for that, and I think electric players would use them too. And then of course the SVTs and all that stuff came out later. But an interesting little history there. So anyway, see how long. What else I got going on here? I gotta see if I add a couple more of these tunes. This is good enough. That's good enough for tonight. I'll just print those out later. We can have it'd be fun. I'll probably use my Space Echo tonight. Any excuse I can get to use that thing. And it's getting a little easier. The weather's getting nicer out. I know that sounds weird that would matter, but with the analog tape, I think I mentioned it last stream, it gets really humid up here in New England in the summertime, more so than even Central Florida does. And there's a lot of outdoor shows, or even you're inside, but they leave all the doors open anyway. And if it's even just a little bit, well, not a little bit, quite a bit humid, that the tape will just start to drag, and it sounds it had a cool sound, but it wasn't great to me. I don't know if something's off like that and dragging, it really bothers me. So, and I don't want the electronics to get all wet and everything. It's old and sensitive, and I don't want to. The amps are fine; they're built like tanks, but the Space Echo can be a little finicky. Howdy, Gizmodus. How you doing? Just kind of hanging out, chatting about whatever is coming to my mind in the moment. I think, yeah, I was talking about the finger picking stuff earlier. The chords, of course, you can always pick individual strings as well. You can pop the strings. That's always a fun sound. And pull. You can do this stuff, and you can, pick them with your fingers. Especially with on the bridge pickup, not the bridge pickup, the neck pickup. No, that is the bridge pickup. Sorry. Um, just adds just another little little trick, little sound effect you can do to change things up a little bit. Well, thank you for joining. Yeah, glad I could hang out here a little bit, so you could check out some of the stream here. Probably won't stay on too much longer because I gotta get ready for the show, but pretty much ready. Nice thing about tonight is I don't have to drag a PA system. A lot of our shows we set up our own PA, so, and I just use basic stuff and try to keep it as simple as possible. I'm always trying to figure out ways to pare down gear, not up. Oh, you're welcome, Gizmo. Although I'll get comments every once in a while. You guys have too much stuff, or or why don't you guys try bringing some more stuff next time? It it's really, I mean, it's kind of the minimum I think that you need to have a band. You got to have your drums, right? You got to have a bass amp. You got to have a bass. Yeah, we have the upright, so that I think that's part of it. It takes up more physical space, and then you have the bass player also plays electric bass when we switch to the surf stuff. Um, and we'll do a couple of funky things. We'll do the meters, Sissy Strut, and some other straight rock stuff. You're welcome. Thank you. Appreciate you hanging out. Yeah, so then you have and then of course I usually bring two guitars, and the only reason why I bring more than one is just in case I break a string. I don't want to have to stop the show, obviously, so put the guitar down and pick up the other one. That's always recommended. Even if they're brand new strings, you never know. I've had new strings as I'm putting them on. You put them around. The one thing about the Bigsby is that you have to wrap the strings around the bar on the top there. And if if the integrity of the string is compromised in some way, it's going to snap. So I've had that happen before. So you never know. So yeah, that and then I have two speakers. Sometimes we bring a monitor, sometimes we don't. You have your mixer boards, your mic stands, your cables. I mean, that's it. That's all you need. That it's bare minimum. Some people have um, the blue hot rod. This guy, yeah, it's a nice guitar. It's definitely worth it. Sounds great, plays great. Yeah, that's usually my go-to guitar. Used to be this one, but it needs a refret, so I kind of put this one aside, and I don't really play it live too much anymore. If I'm playing really in really quiet spaces, then I'll bring this one. Um, but anything else than that, pretty much any other gig that I can be at a decent volume, I usually don't play this because, like I said, it does tend to feedback unpleasantly um, if I'm doing cranking it up too much, but also not as loud, which is weird. And so I don't get a lot of sustainability. I don't get a lot of sustain out of it. Touch sensitivity isn't there, and that's due to the frets, the worn frets. And that's its biggest problem. But it sounds good, and I can use it for recordings and everything in the videos. But yeah, the blue one definitely the way to go. Um, any of those hot rods, any of those hot rods. I mean, I like the blue color out of the selection that they had at the time. They had the maroon and the black tuxedo and the blonde, and I think the blue. I think that was it. Maybe I don't know if there was an orange one or not. I don't think so. Yeah, lower output from the pickups. They're just a different standard, and the plus those pickups are closer to the strings on the blue one and the black and the Phoenix too. And I can't get these. If I pull the pole pieces out, it's a feedback nightmare. Um, so I just oh yeah, the coolant green one. Yeah, that's right. That was the green sparkle. That one they have yeah, that was like a different hot rod line. Wasn't part of the flame or maple wood color one, but still I think they still have that one. Um, these they don't make anymore, unfortunately. Um, this hot rod line with the ebony fingerboard and the you can still get them on Reverb though. There's a lot of them around. But yeah, lower output from the pickups. I can't get the pickups any higher than this. Somebody that knows more about it than I do may be able to put some sort of lifter under there. I tried to have somebody do that, but this pickup just isn't just it's as high as it can get. So just doesn't have the volume. So those things kind of it's still fine. I mean, I say it's not loud. It's still loud. It's still fine. It's just not in comparison to the other two. It's quiet. You can kind of hear it in the comparison video. Yeah, the coolant green. Yeah, I'll probably still go with the new smoke or whatever's available at the time when I'm ready to get a new guitar. But I'm good for now. I'm good for a while. Are they? Interesting. Are they? Yeah, they're lower than the the sets or signatures that are in these, but I don't know if they're lower than these. This is, I don't know what these are. These are the 59 style, whatever, Filtertrons. And they're, like I said, they are quite a bit lower output. But that's, I mean, that's fine. I don't really mind if it's lower and just turn the amp up. The issue for me was just the feeding back problem. Is that when I turn it up, it doesn't give a nice, a nice good sustained feedback that you can kind of play with the Bigsby, like those two guitars do. When this one feeds back, it just squeals, and yeah, probably, yeah, definitely the lowest. Their pickups are pretty loud, so I can't wait to try it and compare it to this one, see how much of a difference they are. Anyway, like I said, for recording, I mean, you can manipulate so much, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, the bracing is supposed to take care of that. I guess this one doesn't really have it. But like I said, I don't mind pleasant feedback. I don't mind if it's just feeding back and I'm holding a note and I can just sustain it and control it. That's fine. It's that high pitched squeal that it sounds like mic feedback from a PA when it just squeals. But even higher pitch and more off-putting, more irritating. Cool. Go to little riffs. What else can I chat about before I head out? Yeah, it's got that in it, I believe. I don't know what I'm really looking for, but it does have a thinner top to it, I believe. Yeah, slightly thinner top, and it's thinner in general. It doesn't have the depth that the blue one does. That one's the thickest. Not as much as the jazz box back there, but a little bit beefier of a guitar. But I still like the way this one plays. Probably just because I'm used to it, because I've had it for so long. Great, I can just close my eyes. I don't even have to look at what I'm doing too much with this guitar. And I know where it's going to be because I've played it for so long. 3-ply versus 5-ply. Oh, yep, probably. Can't really tell. Can't see it. They do a really good job. Yeah. Plus, they are, the Setzer ones are great just because they have everything that I would do to the Gretsch anyway is what's already done. That's why I get the Setzer models for the most part. Because it's got the TV Jones pickups in there, which are great. It's got the locking tuners, great. No zero fret, great. Tunematic bridge, lockdown. I mean, everything's there. I think I had to put strap locks in that one, but that was about it. Yeah, I haven't really looked at the Gretsch. I try not to look at the Gretsch site because I will spend too much time on there, and then realize everything I want and can't have. So, I look at the guitar. This is fine. This is great. I'm good. Hey, Richard, what's going on? Yeah. The electromatics are cool. Some of the color schemes for those electromatics are great. Um, I've never I've played a couple in the store and whatever, and they're fine. They're really nice. I probably would just um put TV Jones pickups in there and yeah, sound great. Play it for a little while, refret it with stainless steel frets. I don't know if they do that. Whoa, what was that? Um, yeah, the only thing I've noticed with I don't know if the new electromatics have this, but the old ones, they still have the floating bridges, and all of these are locked down, and that's you gotta have that. You gotta have that. And I mean, the roller bridges are okay, but they're weird, and they're fine if you're just playing, Chet Atkins kind of stuff or whatever, and you're using the Bigsby. The Bigsby's not really designed to do a dive like too much. It's just they're just supposed to be a waiver. Um, oh, they're pinned now. Yeah, I was really shocked when because it was one of the very first Electromatic 6120 style orange ones that came out, and like I forget when it was, 2012, something like that, and 11 or 12, and yeah, they weren't pinned; they were still floating. I'm like, that's weird. I definitely recommend that. Yeah, I did too. I did the same thing at Nashville at the NAM show. Um, I still have it somewhere. I still have that catalog from the NAM show. The last NAM, I don't know when I think it was 2003. I think was the last NAM show I went to. Somewhere around there. It may have been 4 or 5. I don't know. But yeah, that was fun. I remember going to the Gretsch booth, and they had the green, the lime, whatnot, the dark green version of this, and they didn't have the orange one. They just had the green one. But I remember playing it and really liking the way it played. And oh, if I could get the orange one, that would be great. Yeah, it's not as quite as good as the pro made ones, but in a pinch, um, especially in a recording situation or something, obviously it's gonna be pretty close. Yeah, that was do they? I'm pretty sure these are all drilled. Yep. Yeah, I always get apprehensive about doing that. I don't really do that stuff anymore. Anything that has to do with drilling into the body of a guitar, I won't. I don't do it. Solid body is fine. That's fine. Oh, for tellies. Yeah, I'll drill into a telly. I don't care. Um, but a Gretsch, no. Because you can always just fill the holes anyway. If you screw up, it's not a big deal. Um, my telly has a Bigsby on it, but those you still have to. That one you'd still have to drill into the body because these wrap around the the back, the side of it, where the telly one just is the one that just fits on the front. But it's still drilled into the solid body, but they make one that you don't have to do that. Interesting. Huh. Yeah, I've played around with the Bigsby's are just, yeah, you can't do the dives with them or whatever, but compared to the the Fender style whammy bar or the Floyd Rose, I've just never really cared for that. I never really liked that sound anyway, but um, Floyd Roses are just a real pain to set up properly and keep. I mean, once you have them set up, they're fine, but you don't get this, you don't get that same sound. It's different. Um, they do have the fine tuners on them and whatever, but I think it was somebody was telling me about the differences. That, the Bigsby's are built from an engineering perspective properly because they utilize springs properly, where you're bending down against the spring, the pressure, and the spring is designed to spring back up. Where the Strats, it's the opposite. You are stretching the springs out, and then they contract to bring the whammy bar back down. And over time, the integrity of those springs loosens, and you have to replace them. So it's not the best designed type of whammy bar. And these were out. These were out all around the same time, if not first. And you have to tighten those things. Setting them up are a little tricky too. These you just put them on and boom, they work. The Fender ones, you have to tighten the springs. There's 3 of them usually in the underneath the body of it, and then you have to get the how you get that by tightening the springs. You take a string package and stick it under the bridge of a Strat and basically tighten the springs until get the strings tight, and then tighten the springs until that bridge is flat against that string package. And that's where then you can take the string package out, and that should be roughly where it's going to have to sit to stay in tune. That's how way I was taught to do it anyway. Floyd Roses I never really got into, but yeah, these you can't really. I mean, I'll do it anyway, but then you just got to tune back up after the song. Roughly. I mean, this one's pretty good. It stays in tune. Like I said, if you can put graphite in the nut, put it here too. You can use the lubricants. It's really in the filing and the sanding down, making sure you get that nice angle to the string. And just over time, the wound strings are going to create divots and burrs and stuff in the nut and the bridge. So you have to clean those up. I recommend doing it every time you change the strings. Just run a little bit of sandpaper through each of the slots, just to keep it kind of smoothed out and get any burrs that have built up here or there. And you can see it too. If you take the string off, you can see the imprint of the round wound of the string in both spots. All right. It's always a fun sound. That's another thing too that took me a while to figure out, is that obviously there's different sounds depending on where you play on the guitar. That's going to give you that more Dwayne Eddy kind of sound. And over here, That's kind of your standard sound. That's where you're going to play most of everything. And then if you just want to keep going up the neck a little bit, especially with chords, get a little bit more of a jazzier tone if you play almost kind of right up here. Yeah, the twang, that's the word I'm looking for. And you can get that too, even with playing leads. You have the bridge pick, the neck pickup on. Will give you that thicker, kind of creamy type tone, that smooth tone. And then play over here, and that'll give you that kind of twangier, T-Bone Walker-ish sound. Obviously, the guitar difference makes a difference, whether you're having P90 pickups or something like that sort of sound is really cool to me. But I don't have any guitars with P90s or the D-Armon Dynasonic type pickups, which is something I would love to get at some point. Those are cool sounds. But yeah, just being able to go back and forth, and again, the combination of where you're playing, what pickup you're using. Hang exactly, Chris. Yeah, a lot of tunes will have that, obviously have that walking bass line type thing in there. You can go to the flat seventh or the octave. Bend that last note back down. I like doing the Johnny Burnett thing. Played that song the last week for the first time in forever. Seems. Yeah, all those little things. I'll mix it up depending on how what I want to do that at that moment. So I want to play it like that, or go to the octave, go back and forth. And then of course I'll go to the finger picking stuff while you're singing the vocals, and then to the solo, and so on and so forth. Let's see what other. Let's see what other songs I have. Yeah, I mean, I guess part of the trick about playing with a trio, at least on a Rockabilly trio, is well, any trio, it doesn't matter, is when you pick songs to play. If you're not playing originals, um, you have to figure out what's going to be better for when do you play rhythm and when do you play lead? When do you play um, uh, you know, go back and forth and play chords versus playing, walking bass lines and filling in that space. Especially if you're playing a song where there's leads in between and everything else. So sometimes if you can, try to, there's a good example here, is you play kind of instead of playing individual notes, you kind of play that riff as a chord, or double it, um, and play maybe a harmony or something that will just kind of just fill in that space. Just even just two notes at once, as opposed to a single note, right? Will fill in a little bit of extra, that gap where the rhythm guitar might be playing at the same time as a lead that's playing, and bouncing back and forth between, okay, going into a lead and then coming back out of it and right into the rhythm again. Um, and is, if you, with the rhythm, one of the most obvious um, things is if you're playing open chords. So I always try to avoid playing too many just songs with open chords like that. If I'm doing chords, I'll try to play them like this, kind of palm mute it, so they're not ringing out. Because if they're ringing out and they're really filling in a lot of space, um, I'll hold back on that, and then only pull something like that out if I really want to create a big loud sound, and then always bring it back. Because if you're doing this and you're playing all these loud open chords, and then all of a sudden you switch and you start playing just an individual lead, the whole song just goes, everything just, where did the sound go? And so it's just playing around with the different uh, dynamics, I guess, is the best way to put it. So I'll try to, even if the song is doing this, maybe I'll, or just the rock and roll thing, or even just the power chord. And that keeps it kind of, pulsing, but not super loud. And then that way, the lead, when you go to play a lead, the lead is louder than your rhythm. And the perception of that, at least for me, makes it sound a little more full, as opposed to playing these big loud chords and then all of a sudden it's just bass and drums, and then you're playing these sparse lead parts. I think that's part of why I end up playing a lot of notes too, and in the solos, is filling in that space, a little apprehensive about it. But sometimes I'll let the spin, depending on the song. If it's a blues song, I'll let it breathe and let the play less. Um, the faster, like rockabilly swing stuff, would be a little more note heavy. Um, two beats and train beats and that sort of stuff, you don't really need to fill in that much space. There's so much space being filled in by the train beat and the upright clicking and everything. Even if you don't have an upright, it's still, there's just so much going on. It's so busy already that you don't have to worry about it too much. Exactly. Yeah, the palm muted, it really is a big part of it, because you let that delay kind of work for you, you know. And then you can kind of build up during a solo and then come back down. And if you come back down to the vocal and you're just playing the rhythm again and you start to sing, then it's fine. It creates that dynamic. And usually the drummer will, for the vocal, they'll snap back to a hi-hat, a closed hi-hat, or play a swing and train or something like that. And the brass, there's less cymbals, and that quiets the sound down. It's those dynamic back and forth um, sounds. It's not technically dynamics, but it's you can play around with dynamics. A lot of rock bands don't usually. They'll tend to be just, a instrument will stop playing, and then an instrument will come in and then they'll stop, and a dynamic would be, playing really quiet, and that coming in and going up and down in volume. That is more dynamics, and we do. There's a couple of tunes that we'll do that in, but for the most part, it's not incredibly called for in a lot of this music. But the palm muting does imply dynamics, um, where it is quieter and then louder. That's if there's any other things I can think of for playing in a live, like a live situation with a trio. I don't really play with other players all that much as far as like lead players go. Not for any particular reason, just it's just easier to play in a trio. Um, Ego is a funny thing. um, yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. It depends on if the rhythm is going on at the same time. A lot of the rockabilly stuff, uh, electric. There isn't an electric rhythm and a lead going on. Sometimes it depends on the song. Um, Acoustics, yes, but other electric leads or electric rhythms, not so much. At least not that I hear. I have finished recording Cavalcade. I just have to finish mixing it. There's a couple of other little things I have to put on top. Um, but so I've just touched it a tiny bit here and there. I haven't really had too much time to mess around with the mixing this summer. This summer's been crazy. I was expecting to have a somewhat light summer playing wise, but all of a sudden we got a whole bunch of um, uh, shows down in Newport, and the bass player and I do this duo where it's just guitar and upright bass, and we do some instrumental, jazzier type stuff plus some of the rockabilly things like that, and it sprinkling some pixie dust, right? Yeah. Um, so so that's taken up a lot of the time as well as just life and everything in general. Plus, I want to keep the videos going, so um, yeah, and trying to write uh, some new songs just so we can get in the studio and finish it. Like I said, we're about half done with the rhythm track recordings for everything. Now we just need to get. We have about 5 other songs written. We have to record them, and we got like 2 more to finish up writing. The core of it's there, but we haven't finished it up completely. Uh, Valley High, yeah, we'll definitely do that today. Yeah, we usually go into. We'll play. I'll do Sleepwalk because I like playing it, and then at the end of that, um, the drummer plays mallets of Sleepwalk just to kind of like get the cymbal flare up, and then right after that, he'll go into that Valley High rhythm, and that's what we'll go into. Um, and then go into Bally High. That's always fun. Um, and that's a song. That's one of the songs we use the dynamics on quite a bit. Was the Watch South? I've seen. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen South Pacific. I've seen the like, the live show, like the play version of it, a couple times. Yeah, the jungle drums. It's like a Hawaiian beat. You can see like the like the fire dancers and the hula dancers and stuff, like a luau kind of, it's very much that. At least it invokes that imagery, and lots of reverb on the guitar, of course. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's a fun tune. And then we started doing this medley of Western tunes. First one technically isn't a Western song, but it sounds like it should be. It's called "Because They Were Young" by Dwayne Eddy. And then we do that, and then we go into I think of it, Bonanza. And then we go into Magnificent Seven. And then the last tune we do is Blazing Saddles. It's fun. It was just something funny that we thought would open up the song. We like to open up the set with some sort of an instrumental, so we do uh, that, do that. Hopefully, I don't get copyrighted for these little riffs. um, Stand by Your Man, yeah. No, no, we don't do that one. Orange Whip, Orange Whip, Orange Whip. Yeah. Oh yeah, all that Western stuff, the spaghetti Western stuff fits so well, which is what the bass, like the Cattle Kate thing on. Yep. Book 'em, Dano. So the I'll say what other instrumentals that we do other than the surf stuff. We'd Walk No Run, Pipeline, all that stuff. Um, we did a whole bunch. We did a surf set a couple weeks ago. Like it was like a month ago now. Wherever it is, I put it. I don't know. Oh yeah, Rumble, Perfidia. Metal is just surf without distortion. Maybe. I don't know. I teaching some of it lately. Some of the metal stuff is it doesn't really come off as surf rock to me, even without I mean, I guess I sort of see it in some instances, like Nitro or something like that, like some of the why can't I think of his name? Just blanked. um, Not Dwayne Eddy, but yeah, the main surf guy, Dick Dale. Jesus. Uh, some of that stuff I could see where there could be a comparison there, but generally, no, not really. I mean, it's straight rock. I mean, a lot of it. So there's to some degree, I suppose. But surf is more melodic, typically, than right. Exactly. Yeah. Take away the distortion, metal isn't as big as you think. It's a combination of distortion and down tuning. A lot of, especially the heavier stuff, is down tuned to an open C, and that sounds really big and heavy. But if you took all that away, it would be pretty tame sounding. Rumble was the first one to get banned, huh? Um, yeah, I haven't done that. We did. There is one called Stampede by the Scarlets. That one I could see metalish. It's like that's all it is. It just goes to the four. It does the same thing. Nice. Yeah, Nitro's a great, cool tune. I've always wanted to play that one. I never did learn it though. That's awesome that you play it though. But also Rebel Rouser. Not Rebel Rouser. I tried to play that, but it's like it doesn't without the saxophone. It doesn't really work to me. Yellow Jacket. Um, yeah, the inventor of the power chord. Interesting. Hmm, cool. Yeah, I did. I got the chance to open for him uh, years ago, and that was a fun show. He opened up with Rumble. What else do we do? Da, 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 da. That's really that's really the basic. That's really most of it there. Um, yeah, yeah. Opening up for Link Ray was like I forget the name of the place. It was in Tampa, Florida. Um, that was fun. I opened up for Wanda Jackson and as far as like the old school rockabilly guys, that's really about it. I never really had a chance to open up for anybody else uh, within that within the rockabilly. Almost opened up for Robert Gordon. Never had a chance to. Um, Yep. And it was that same place in Tampa. They would have big big events and big shows, big outdoor arena type, not arena, but this is big outdoor circular type venue. It looked like you're in the middle of a baseball field type of thing. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Then there was that was really the the biggest names that I can think of. I'm sure that I might be missing someone else. Yeah. Yeah, that was the first time I heard Danny Gatton, I think, as well. It might have been something else. It might have been somebody just put on some tunes and said, "Here, listen to this," and it was great. But I did get the CD. I didn't have the record, but of the live Danny Gatton with Robert Gordon, and I'd listen to that over and over and over again. That's great. Cool. All right. Well, it's getting late. I gotta have to get loaded and get ready to head out to Galactic Theater and rock and roll. But I want to thank everybody for hanging out. The Humbler, exactly. Thank everybody for hanging out, coming to the live stream. Apologize for the technical difficulties for the video, but as soon as I get the gear up, I'll be hard at work on these next videos this week. I don't really have too much else going on during the week. Next week we have a busy schedule. I had yeah a busy schedule for next weekend. So the live stream, actually, I'm gonna be moving it for next week. I'm gonna move it to a little bit earlier on. I'm not exactly sure when that's gonna happen. I think I'm probably gonna have to move it to Friday, actually, because um yeah, I got a couple of pop-up gigs that happened. So I do have a show Friday, and then I have something that came up for Saturday, and then I got one on Sunday too. And there really isn't any time on Sunday, so I'll probably have to do it Friday, or I guess I could do it Sunday as well, but Friday would be a little. Eh. It'll either be Friday or Sunday. I'm not really exactly sure, but it'll be in flux for next week, and during the week I'll be hard at work on the videos and hopefully have something out, if not the end of this week, by next week, depending on how long it takes to edit and everything. But with the new gear, I'm hoping everything will go a little faster. At least that's the plan. So make hay while the sun shines, exactly. So thank you guys, thank you Chris, thank you Richard, thank you Gizmodus, thank you everybody else for liking, subscribing. Thank you all the for everybody that's signed up for Patreon, of course, and thank you for joining the live stream and watching the videos and all the support. So until next time, have a good one, everybody. See you then. Take care, everybody.